Now, I need to be clear. Unlike Vosh, I have not taken the cum pledge, so I am free to talk about other leftists. Also, I'm small and insignificant, so I'm going to criticize establishment politicians that I do not particularly care for. And if they're acting shitty, I'm going to call them out on being shitty. Recently, Nancy Pelosi had an absolute batshit interview with Wolf Blitzer, the most charismatic man on television. Um, and basically, she's trying to defend why she's not going for a $1.8 trillion stimulus deal. Um, why she's not going for that, right? So let's see here. Drunk Nancy is your girl. Man, I do not like Nancy. Most Taylor Swift, fun fact, most leftists hate Nancy Pelosi because she's so ineffective and she keeps Democrats under such a tight leash that we can't get anything done effectively. Um, what is but anyway, I believe Democrats want something over $2 trillion. So she's not going for this $1.8 trillion deal. Um, and she went on Wolf Blitzer, and let's take a look at take a listen to what she had to say.
Dollars is significant and more than twice the Obama dollars is significant and more than twice the Obama stimulus. Make a deal. Put the ball in McConnell court. So what do you say to Ro Khanna?
What I say to you is, I don't know why you're always an apologist, and many of your colleagues apologists for the Republican position. Ro Khanna, that's nice. That isn't what we're going to do, and nobody's waiting till February.
Dollars is significant.
Now, I wanna remind you that Nancy Pelosi is the one who very condescendingly, many months ago, told the American people that a second package of relief would be coming very soon. It's like 5 months later, and we haven't gotten shit. And she hasn't been able to do anything. And that's why Ro Khanna, who, by the way, Ro Khanna is a pretty solid leftist in the Senate. He's a pretty effective legislator, as far as I know. Ro Khanna is urging her to take it, because before, Republicans were only offering, I think, 1.5 trillion, so they've upped the amount of money for the relief package, and their reasoning is that essentially 1.8 trillion is better than nothing until after the election, and people need the money to last through the election here. And on top of that, I actually agree with his reason. It's pretty solid. Like, pass something now, and then after the election, possibly if the Senate flips, which there is a chance that could happen. I think there's like a 60 or 70% chance that we might be able to flip the Senate towards Democrats. If that happens, then we could pass another relief bill if that becomes necessary, which it likely will. But the way that she just outright dismisses this because she wants to win some political points is pretty cheap and gross here. Also, anarcho-tyranny. I disagree with you. Vote for the lesser of two evils so that you're that much closer towards your goal. Like, in order to run 5 miles, you don't start out by, 6 miles away from where you want to go, I guess. Like, come on now. Uh, um, I really need to figure out a good system for letting you guys post links that also prevents Nazis from coming in, just being like, watch my Nazi propaganda video. We really need to figure out a system like that. I mean, no, actually, in a two-party system, anarcho-tyranny, if you don't vote and the greater evil wins, your inaction just powered greater evil. Do I have a mod? I don't have a mod, unfortunately. I think I need to get a mod at this point because I'm getting overwhelmed by chat some days. Um, uh, well, no, voting is not some sort of egotistical, like, exercise of your own ego, anarcho-tyranny. It is a mechanism by which the country moves forward, and either it's going in a direction that you're comfortable with, or um, un momento. Here we go. We have a mod. We have a mod now. Riot Girl Callie is now your mod. All hail the mod. Um, but no, yeah, vote for someone who's gonna get you closer to where your ideology says would make a better country for everybody. So for me, that's Biden because he's putting $2 trillion into the environment. That makes that gets us $2 trillion closer towards saving the planet. That's a pretty good goal, I think. Also, Biden ensures that we're going to have elections during the next 4-year cycle, so that's a positive. Biden's not a fascist. That's another positive. I don't like Biden, but I also recognize that those things are good, and just and sitting by and allowing a fascist to win is not something that I could do, and neither should anybody else in this country if they love America. Um, let's see. He tried to impeach. What did Biden get caught doing now, Taylor Swift? Um, but also, I disagree with your idea that there are fake news. Well, oh, did Biden get caught for emails now? You do realize that all of Trump's kids and Trump himself are using private email servers, the same thing that got Hillary Clinton in trouble. You realize that they're all doing the same thing. And when it was brought up early in the administration, they literally just shrugged it off and no one talked about it after that. You realize like you realize that like Trump has routinely broken the law in so many different ways to personally benefit from his presidency. Like no. The idea that of course Biden is getting more cover than Trump. Look, I haven't seen anything about Biden breaking any laws. Okay? Like you saying like there are emails doesn't like tell me anything about what it is, okay? Um Voting best of two evils props up the establishment only? Yeah, I mean, look, you realize that everyone made the same argument last time around the cycle, and we don't have a better candidate now, right? Anarcho tyranny. Like, if your logic was sound, we would be having a better candidate this election cycle. So, unless your idea is that every 4 years you're going to talk about how, oh, if we just don't vote for the party, like the party that might get us closer towards our ideological goals, they'll finally listen to us, and that happens every single election cycle. So you're just not voting. Like, why the fuck would they ever try and cater to you? Because you're not voting. You're not participating in the system. Um. Oh, is this more Hunter Biden stuff? Yeah, yeah, whatever. I don't care about Hunter Biden stuff. You real you realize that the biggest mainstream media network, Taylor Swift, is Fox News, and it's controlled by a conservative. You realize that, right? So if you're paying attention to Fox News or things that you're learning on Fox News, that's where you're getting your information from. You're getting it from someone like people who are catering towards conservatives and conservative conspiracy mongering, right? Yeah, Fox News is hella conservative. Fox News is hella conservative. The son of the man who owns Fox News literally like quit the company like last week because of how like corrupt and how deep into misinformation spreading the company has gotten. So like what? No, Tucker Carlson is 100% conservative. We went over this yesterday. He uses the same talking points that white supremacists use, and white supremacists are uniformly conservative. Yeah, hating Trump doesn't make them not conservative. Like, you realize that Trump isn't all conservatives. Like, Trump is a fascist. He represents a far-right conservative. There are other people who are more moderate and haven't been radicalized by the Trump presidency, like Chris Wallace, who are very much still conservative. They are not liberals. They are not on the left. They are conservatives. And they're probably still gonna vote for Trump even though they hate him. Well, yeah, but like a lot of news anchors are. Like there are some news anchors who are personally leftists, but their job is still to present you right-wing propaganda. Yeah, Tucker Carlson is the highest rated show on TV. Like, yeah, and he's conservative. He's conservative as hell. Yesterday we went over a television segment where he was telling people that they had the God-given right to not wear masks and kill their neighbors with a deadly disease. Yeah. God, come on now. Oh, Tucker is your dad? My dude. When you inherit, can I have some money? Can send me some money after he dies, okay? Like you're gonna be one of the wealthiest people on the planet. So good on you, I guess. No, anarcho-tyranny, the party only capitulates towards people who vote. So if you don't vote, they're not going to capitulate to your position. They're just going to go farther to the right to get at more people who actually turn out to vote.
tax credit in their proposal either. But
All
let's
right,
not
we're gonna finish watching this Wolf Blitzer stuff. I got very sidetracked talking with all of you numbskulls.
their proposal either. But let's not go
it
into that.
doesn't- yeah,
You
we've gone
evidently
through
do
that.
not respect the chairman of the committees
I
who
re-
wrote
I
these
respect-
bills.
I respect
and
all
I
of
wish
you.
you would respect the knowledge that goes into getting meeting the needs of the American people. But again, you've been on a jag defending the administration all this time with no knowledge of the difference between our two bills. And I
Yeah, also, I hope you're paying attention to this, Taylor Swift, because like this is Nancy Pelosi arguing that Wolf Blitzer is in bed with the Trump administration. Like the process of you saying like yeah process of you saying that like Chris Wallace is on the left is the same thing that happens to Wolf Blitzer, but they accuse him of being on the right. Um, when the reality is all of these people are too far to the right for a truly progressive society, okay?
thank you for giving me the opportunity to say that to you in
All right,
person.
Madam Speaker,
virtually.
these are incredibly difficult times right now, and we'll leave it on that note. Thank you so much
Yeah.
for
No,
joining
we'll
us.
leave it on the vote that you are not right on this, Wolf, and I hate to say that to you.
right.
But I feel confident about it, and I feel confident about my colleagues, and I feel confidence in my chairs.
And it's not about me, it's about millions of Americans who can't put food on the table, who can't pay the rent,
And
who are
we
having
represent
trouble,
them,
who
and we
are trouble
represent them,
getting
and
by
we
on
represent
these
them,
long food
and we
lines that we're
represent
seeing.
them.
I
Oh
know
my
know
God.
them.
I'm just
We
Oh my
represent them,
God.
and we know them.
as we
We
say,
know them. We represent them.
don't let the
Yes.
perfect be the enemy of the good, as they say
It is
here in
nowhere
Washington.
near perfect.
Madam Speaker.
Always the case, but we're not even close to the good.
All right, let's see.
Oh
what
my
happens, because
God.
Every day is critically important. Thanks so much
Thank
for
you for
joining
your
us.
I can't believe this, but I'm agreeing with Wolf Blitzer. Um, Holy shit. That was the cringiest thing I've seen. She kept interrupting him, and all he is trying to say is that, like, there are poor people in the United States who can't pay their rent and can't, like, buy food. And that's why this stimulus bill is desperately needed by so many people. And she is just saying, "Yeah, we represent them. That's why we're delaying." Insane.
Sensitivity to our constituents' needs.
I am sensitive to them because I see them on the street begging for food, begging for money. Madam Speaker, thank you
Have
so
you
much.
fed them? We feed them. We feed them.
We'll continue this conversation down the road for sure. We'll
This
take
is
a
the
quick break.
angriest I've ever seen Wolf Blitzer. Look at that. Look at his smoldering eyes. But like, did you feed them? Like, bitch, the Democrats aren't gonna feed them either. Like, oh, this is why we need socialism in the United States. None of these people are gonna actually do anything, but you know what? Props to Wolf Blitzer for actually, like, behaving like a human being. Unlike this, like, automaton over here. Holy shit.
Thank you.
Also, I cannot believe his patience. That was really good. Now, I do disagree with the fact that this is coming from Sagar Enjeti, a literal fascist. So, but that being said, this was worth taking a look at because shitty Dems being shitty Dems is something that we need to be aware of as leftists, so that when after the election is over, we can push Biden to go further to the left, you know? Oh yeah, I was really hoping Shahid Buttar was gonna overthrow her. Wait, let's read. Let's take a look here. Wait, I can't tell. Is the Shahid Buttar challenge, is that done? Oh, okay. No, okay, so he's on the November ballot. So that hasn't gone through yet. I'm not sure that he actually has any polls yet though. Let's see. Yeah. So currently Shahid Buttar, um these are the March 3rd primary results. So I think they're both going to be on the ballot, maybe? Or am I reading? Yeah, no, they're both going to be on the ballot in November. So that'll be an interesting race to see how that shakes out because Nancy Pelosi um, does live in a relatively wealthy area, but Shahid Buttar has been hitting the ground hard with a very prominent ground game. So we'll see. We'll have to see how this shakes out because Shahid Buttar is actually really cool. If you have you guys ever like seen him give a talk? Um, well, yeah, looking at the March result, but March, you know, this was March 3rd, so you had March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October. That's 8 months. 8 months of solid campaigning in a relatively, I mean, it is a large district, but there's a definite possibility where like Nancy Pelosi can't like go out and really campaign like she used to. Um, there is a possibility that he could upset her because he's actually offering something, as opposed to Nancy Pelosi, who I don't know if she actually offers her constituents anything. Oh, yeah, he did have a scandal at one point, but it was like as manufactured as anything I've ever seen. So let's if you want, you know what, we'll dive into this a little bit because I like talking about it. He had a really good interview on the Majority Report where he addressed the scandal. Um, um, Heed, Par, Sam, Cedar. All right. Oh, perfect. This is exactly what I wanted to find.
All right, I want to bring to the program, hopefully, the next congressperson from the 12th district in California, making his return visit to the Majority Report. Shahid Buttar, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me, Sam. It's great to be with you.
Now, look, I want to start off. I think the last time you were here was, I don't know, maybe at the beginning of the summer.
June, I think, sometime, yeah.
There was a piece in the Intercept. I think it was reported other places. I don't want to spend too much time on it, but I need to raise it so that we can move on with this. There were a couple of set of accusations. One of them, which was frankly the more serious one, and I think really the peg for the story, fell apart very quickly, even in the context of the story. And I think, we're talking about somebody who I think is a little bit troubled. I don't want to go into that for her sake, frankly, more than anything else. But there were other accusations that I think it was by 3 campaign staffers, 2 women, 1 man, that you were, like a jerk as a boss. It wasn't, we're not talking, Klobuchar level stories here, but that you were very demanding, that sometimes you would yell at people, I guess, or not yell, but dress them down in certain situations. Now, also in this same report, it was clear that there was a sort of overhaul of your campaign staff. And since that point, your campaign has improved by a whole series of metrics that are out there. But I need to raise it. Some of it people felt was a little gendered. Other people were like, well, you just sort of jerk to everybody in, that were complaining. I've seen, and also let me just add this. There was a lot of this is, all of this was sort of like, there was a woman named Gloria Berry, who's the chair of the San Francisco Democratic County Central Committee and Black Lives Matter Committee. She came out and basically said, like, I think the people who are complaining are a little dubious. I know these people, and it was a bad fit. Just to give both sides, but I want to give you an opportunity to say a few words of it, and then we'll move on. And I just want to say to my audience, I've dug into this stuff. With all due respect to you,
My dude, narco tyranny. You got your warning. Come on, dude. There you go.
wouldn't have you on if I felt that it.
I just need to clarify, if you're coming into chat, I have nothing against you saying that Warren screwed Bernie in the primary, but I do have something against you using Pocahontas. Okay, it's a racist dog whistle, and it's demeaning. Please don't use that to refer to anything other than the historical figure, please. And I feel like I shouldn't even have to say that. But here we are. So please do not do that if you come back, anarcho tyranny.
Was if there was a real problem here, but I want to give you an opportunity to just address it.
Thank you for that and for raising it. Just to be clear, I take the issues at stake here really seriously, because gender matters, race matters, inclusion matters, and ensuring that everybody's respected in the workplace. All those things matter. And I particularly appreciate you raising the question. You were literally the first journalist in the nearly 2 months since these stories reported to even mention Gloria Berry's name. And she's been entirely silenced by the press. This is one of 3 people recruited by my former staff to participate in which one of those supporters of mine described in text messages that the press has seen and generally suppressed as a smear campaign. And there have been almost half a dozen different accusations, before, and in fact referenced in that Intercept article is a DSA resolution predicated on a false rumor started by my former colleagues that I had a pattern of inappropriate activity with my volunteers. And that fell apart even before that story was ever printed, even though it references this DSA resolution that at the time was being promoted by people who knew that the narrative they were presenting in public was false. And then after that was this accusation of harassment by someone who had previously accused me of murder, of human trafficking. The same person had accused any number of people of similar things. The same person had been, frankly, accused by other people of doing precisely what she said I did to her. And this was the person that my former colleagues used to get their concerns about my campaign strategy into the press. And Gloria's voice is one among several that I think is really critical here, because the claims about my supposed toxicity in the workplace don't at least align with the experiences of either people who work with me now or any of the volunteers who've been with me long before those former staff joined me. I've been running for Congress for 3 years. Among the people who've been critical of me in the press, the longest any of them worked with me was 9 months. Some of them only worked with me for a few weeks. And these are people who have political motivations. It's unfortunate to me that the press amplified stories without checking the facts. And I'm particularly disappointed. If there was a role or a particular part in all this, I'd really emphasize there's one group. I've been endorsed by a whole series of organizations here in San Francisco: the SF Tenants Union, Democratic Socialists of America, Progressive Democrats of America, the SF Berniecrats, local members of the school board and the board of supervisors. Every single one of them, with one exception, rescinded their endorsements after these allegations were brought forward. And the only group that stuck by me is the one group that actually did an investigation, which is to say the entire city's progressive establishment presumed the accusations to be true in spite of evidence and witnesses to the contrary. And as a person of color, falsely accused and presumptively judged in public, it is disturbing to me to see self-described progressive and even socialist organizations fail to recognize long established dynamics in our society. And the end of the day, what the impact of this campaign, the smears towards me, has been is to neutralize the progressive establishment in San Francisco, which frankly, the institutional part of the progressive establishment from which my former colleagues came and to which they've returned since leaving my campaign, it's always supported Pelosi, but the parts of it that at least did not have taken themselves off the table. So I'm going into this election in November against the sitting Speaker of the House with a great deal at stake for our entire civilization. And every self-described socialist or progressive organization in San Francisco has basically taken themselves off the table, not based on anything I did, but on the presumption that I had done things, all kinds of things. And just to be clear, my former colleagues, in addition to accusing me of this pattern of inappropriate behavior, this supposed harassment by the person whose veracity, we've discussed, they've also said I don't work hard, which is just, it's laughable. I don't even know what to say about that. I'm the first Democrat in a generation to face Pelosi in a general election. That doesn't happen by me sitting on my hands.
Right.
It certainly didn't happen, through the work with people who were with me for just a few weeks. It's the support and the supporters who put me there. And maybe the biggest part, and maybe another thing I'd say here, it is very challenging to be dragged in public for things I haven't done, especially as a person of color, being subjected to racial and religious tropes. But to see the suspension of any commitment to due process or innocence or facts, and instead to presume the legitimacy of any accusation, I think does very dangerous things to our movement. Because while I've been the target of these false claims, it is the movement that's borne the brunt of it. And ultimately, that's what I'm committed to. I'm grateful for all the support from people who have paid enough attention to examine the facts. And I do want to particularly just note that the failures of the local press to me are especially alarming here. And they're not confined to this story. Nancy Pelosi, for instance, hasn't debated a challenger in a generation. And that's entirely because the local press hasn't held her accountable.
Right.
And similarly, the local press here didn't report any facts. They didn't, all the text messages documenting that my former colleagues knew they were presenting a false narrative at the time that they were reaching out to the press. All the local press outlets saw those texts, and not a single one of them would correct their stories. Even The Intercept, which went back to its story a month after publishing it to basically rewrite the story, didn't issue a correction in violation of their own editorial guidelines. We had to go back to them to get them to just fix the headline. And even the story itself, at the first instance, when they first wrote it, was internally inconsistent. There's all kinds of fact errors through it. And I just see the crisis in journalism beyond the crisis in race as independent objects of alarm. And I think a lot of people, frankly, have paid attention to one layer of this controversy. But
I think, listen, my sense is there was also some internal stuff going on at The Intercept, even in that piece. I mean, first of all, if you read that piece from July 23rd, it basically says, here's a person who is accusing you of something who everyone around them says is troubled, frankly. And that, in fact, you were being accused of something that their former roommate had happen to them, that they had told this person who was accusing you. So the whole thing, that whole element of it fell apart within the story that they're presenting. But that was the tent pole in which the other accusations, which clearly on themselves would not have merited a story, were presented. And to me, the thing, I got to be honest with you, it felt a lot like what happened with Alex Morse. Fortunately for Alex Morse, there was they were just more rigorous. And also, I will say this, just totally coincidentally, a big part of why the Alex Morse fell apart was because we got an email from somebody who was periphery to that and ended up being the basis of a lot of the investigations that came out afterwards for The Intercept.
Yeah, so I feel like this kind of gave a pretty good summary of the whole Shahid Buttar situation. I'm fairly convinced by his explanation of the series of events, and especially given the context of his race, it's fairly easy to see that he was the victim of a smear job, much like a number of other progressive candidates who were running. Yeah, I think that we can fix this. I think the fact that they're so scared that they have to resort to kind of muddy tactics shows that we are gaining ground. They threw everything also at Ilhan Omar and AOC. They were trying to get them out, challenging them in the primaries. But the fact that those progressive candidates were likewise able to just absolutely crush their opposition yet again, I think that shows that we're entering a new era where people are really hungry for this kind of progressivism. They want to see challenges to the sitting establishment power dynamic. The guy who beat a Kennedy. I forget his name. But yeah, we are gaining ground, and as much as it really sucks, and it seems like Democrats have a real stranglehold on the power in the United States at the moment, especially when the opposition is literally capitulating to like fascists and like the worst elements of society, and you have like kooky QAnon people winning seats, and like in this environment, we need these progressives more than ever. I think that we can take a lot of hope in that. Like, just remind yourself that 4 years ago, 5 years ago, in like 2015, no one was talking about Medicare for all. That was not a thing that anybody was talking about. We've gone from that with a no-name senator from Vermont, having him go within striking distance of the White House, closer than any socialist has ever come to sitting in the White House seat of power. And from there, like the 4 years after that, not only has Medicare for All become like a mainstream talking point, it's become the most popular position that a politician can have in the United States. Most people in this country want Medicare for All. And a lot of people want the Green New Deal. Like, saving the planet is quite a popular position. Also, when you continue to frame it with like, as it being a job creator, as it cleaning up water supplies, which I need to remind you, we still have a huge problem with lead in our water. And it's not just Flint, it's a huge problem all across the country. So like, when it comes to environmental issues, that's super important too. And all of these things have been gaining more and more ground because finally there are policies and politicians that are offering something to their constituents. And I think a lot of people in the establishment parties have forgotten that you need to offer working people something. Specifically, like when it comes to like for a lot of establishment Democrats right now, what it means to offer things to people is tax cuts. We'll cut the taxes of the working class. Like that's not good enough. Raise the minimum wage. Like, there are things we can do that would immediately, immeasurably improve the lives of working people. And I think that's what we need to focus on going forward as progressives, as leftists, as socialists. It's incredible, you're right. It's incredible that we debate about whether or not people who work full time should be able to live on the wage they make.